Dallas Morning News. You and Mike were talking going into the game about a premium on tackling, especially with how they played. It seemed uncharacteristic, your tackling, based on what we've seen this year. Was it their scheme, their athletic ability?
What was the... Yeah, I think this in the Giant game, we had the most missed tackles in a game. I think it was 10. This one, it may have been 10 in that one as well. So for us, more of it was, our tracking. We knew there's a lot of, space plays that we'd get, but just making sure that we could really dial in and own, the leverage that we wanted to go. So when we missed a few of those, one on a sack, one on, some in space, some in line, just one that we know we can, get corrected, and we certainly will. But yeah, it was just more than we were comfortable with. That's why, kind of referring to high standards and takeaways, we weren't able to get any. Our tackling wasn't as good, and so when you miss those moments to nail it and you don't, you're just pissed about it. And I want to make sure that we nail them because I know that we can. So that's what I do love about our group of guys. They were all pissed at it. We sat in it, and we'll move past it too. But like I said, we have really high standards of how we want to operate, and so when we don't, it bothers us.
Both of those teams have running quarterbacks as well.
Yeah.
Hurst runs a little differently,
Yeah.
but does that make it problematic? Did that lead to some of the issues, or is that not really an excuse?
Yeah. In this game, I don't think it was, David. And the reason why, there just wasn't as many. Daniel Jones had a lot of runs, that he was outside the pocket. I thought the guys did a good job on this, where we were expecting Hurts, to be more of a runner on the third down part. And really, they ran the ball more on third down than drop back and throw him, where he would scramble. And we've seen him make so many plays doing that. So I thought we expected a lot of screens. I thought that part went better. And, for him from a scrambling side of things, the guys did a good job in that space.
Question for West Alabama. I guess things to be pissed about. You guys, offense gets the score 2017, and you give up the big drive. You just talked about the disappointment.
We felt the momentum shift, didn't you? And so in that one, I think there was a 3rd and 4, a 3rd and 1, and allowed them to go down to score. Because I thought that's kind of what I was referring to. Like the third quarter felt good to get back into it, to go and have some real space to go. It was good to see the offense get 2 scores, and so right there, you're right back in it to make that shift, and that's the moment that we had to nail. And our group has been really strong at the end of the games, and so for us to miss that one and miss a few third downs on that one, that's the scar from this game, that we'll talk about, of missing that opportunity. Because when you fight back and you get right back into it, you got to go nail it again. And so as good as that went in the second, that was the one. You're exactly right.
John Watkins, Dallas Morning News. Yeah, number of penalties. How frustrating was that to see some of those?
Yeah, I think we had 5 is what I counted on, and quite honestly, a couple of them were even in the end, where we had 2 or 3 on that same drive at the end. So the post-snap ones, we can control those, whether it's our attitude, our tempo, that combative nature that you get into to say, okay, I'm backing away from this one. I'm not going to get the foul. And so when they lead to first downs or to, free 15 yards, those are hard to overcome in a drive. And so we'll get those shored up for sure. And certainly can't have them. Like there's going to be ones that you get, just from playing and battling. That's the normal reaction. But a neutral zone infraction or a unsportsmanlike just from a comment, like we can do better than that.
It's usually pretty mild-mannered, but to see him react the way he did when he slammed his helmet, just your thoughts on.
Yeah, I think sometimes frustration gets to all of us in different ways, and that was the only emotion he could trigger at that moment. And we got to have other ones that we can do. Sometimes when you get in that moment, you're just so pissed you don't have anything else to access, and I'm certain that was the case on that one. And so there's other ways. Hey, we'll let it pass and get back to the sideline and go. And when you have a win or a loss, you want to take all the lessons from them. It'd be nice if all the wins, you took all the lessons in the same space, but I tell you, and through coaching, that isn't always the case. And so sometimes these lessons like today can go a long way about, what we need to do and how we need to play.
Piggyback on the penalties real quick, I'm sorry. The Dante Fowler neutral zone, was they discussed it? Hey, they're just trying to very emphasize on 4th down. What do you know?
Yeah, we do. We call that a no-brainer. And so we bring those up to say this could be, something they're going to work on this team. But to their defense, they do go for it a lot on 4th. So, whether it was a no-brainer or not, if they didn't have a play called and they were just trying to work a shift to get to the end of the quarter, that's their strategy to go. But no matter what, we can use our discipline into that spot there. That's a big one to get. That's creating a turnover in the red zone, to flip it back the other way. Because as you know, after that one, a touchdown occurred. So those are those little moments that that we're talking about, whether it's a poised one or doing that. If we're really going to play to the standards we want, we can't have those little episodes where something could knock us off course. There's enough plays in the course of a game where a missed tackle happens or, somebody makes an exceptional play to go. But ones that we can control, whether it's a pre-snap or a post-snap, those ones, we can eliminate, and we know we will.
Dan, Todd Archer of the ESPN. We hear offensive coaches say the key to third down is what you do on first down. For you guys on that side of the ball, maybe even on that drive after they made it 2017, was it your first down issues that were leading to the third? It was 3rd, 4, 3rd and 1.
3rd and 1, yeah.
Wasn't allowed a 3rd and long.
No, it wasn't. And when we can get into those longer ones, Todd, as you know, that's where you can be a little more creative, a little more, wide open, so to speak, to go play it. And when you're in those smaller windows, we really got to nail them. And so when we missed on those, I think one of them might have been a sneak, and another one was an inside run. So when you don't nail those ones on the smaller distances, those are the ones that leave you vulnerable to, treating that like another second down play where it's, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3.
With the run defense, I think it's 4 games of the first 6 they've had more than 120 yards against y'all. Is it because you play so much sub-package, or is it just the teams that you've played, that's what they emphasize, or that's what they...
Yeah, that's a good question. Yesterday also had 37 carries. So, we were expecting a full dose of, run against them. And sometimes when you get ahead, they may even become a little bit more in the running game. But I think it's just dependent on the opponent of how we go. Sometimes when you do a good job like we did, I thought, in Los Angeles, those kind of early downs become some more manageable third downs. And I think that's a bigger byproduct of anything where you can play better on those early downs.
Christy Scales, Cowboys Radio. Back to tackling for just a moment. Another emphasis this week, Detroit, also an unfamiliar opponent, but with their run game. You talk about the challenge of addressing that this week, if you're going to be a little abbreviated during the week after the overnight trip last night.
Yeah, and I think at the end, it's part meeting, part technique, and drilling it, and you want to make sure the drills that you're putting in are going to apply into the game. And so which space tackling, which ones to hit on, and certainly they have excellent runners, and Swift's got the speed also to make you miss. So, yeah, the tackling will be, right at the forefront of our talking, but also of our drill work, and to make sure we've got some excellent tacklers on our team. I thought none finer in yesterday's game than Malik Hooker. I thought he really, has been consistent in that approach. And I would imagine the guys that miss some, they'll come back with a pretty good vengeance about how they want to play.
Babe Loffenberg, Dallas Cowboys Radio. Obviously, you can't be in 2 places at one time, but you're up top. Was yesterday or last night a game where you wish you could have transported yourself down and try to settle things down a little bit? Or do you just remove yourself totally from it?
No, I don't. Yeah, I think, the emotions are part of the game. And so it gave me some, good things to hit on at the half. But even before then, the guys are going through. And I do get to communicate, through Malik and JK on the headset, hey, this is what I want you to tell to the guys. This is the message I want you to get across. Or I'm hitting to the other assistant coaches. I want to make sure we're talking through these 1, 2, or 3 things. So I always enjoy the interaction with them. So I always miss that of being in the press box. But the better version of me is more clear-headed and away from it as it can go, because I'd be just as excited to be in the fight as everybody.
And not a lot of penalties called on them. I think they finished with 2 at the end of the night. Does that lead to a little bit of frustration, too, when you're not getting calls going your way? Not for you in the booth, but for the guys playing?
I think any of those things can tag into your emotions, whether you get behind or you miss one or anything that can just jam you up or you feel like you're against it. But sometimes that can also bring out the very best in you to say, hey, I know we're not getting the calls, or I know we're not getting, we got to go win it anyway and do it. So I'd prefer to spin it on the other way, to say when it's not going your way, that you get even a little tighter and a little stronger to go. Tad said he would take all the fines about me talking about officiating today, so I'll pass that along to him. But when it happens, and whether you miss one or don't, you got to go to the next one, because if you keep hanging on and have resentment for that referee who didn't make a call or a play that you thought you were wronged on, it'll just end up costing you in the next one. And so the faster you can access it, okay, it happened and I got to get on to the next one, that's when you do. But for the ones that we know we can control, that's ours, we got to be able to do that. The ones that they don't call, yeah, you get pissed, and they generally don't hear me yelling from the press box at them, so that's probably a good thing for me.
You were, Todd's question earlier about third downs, and you were talking about the windows you're in. How are those windows set and immutable, or how much does it depend on your talent, how long you've had these guys in the system, where it changes a little bit?
It does, and it does the opponent too. To say, for some teams, short yardage might be third or fourth and 1, and some teams maybe add 2 into it. For a team like Philadelphia, it was add 3 or 4 into that to say, what does that opponent do, per game. And so usually we have these windows of, what is short yardage this week, what's going to be considered medium, what's going to be considered long, and we do move that line based on what a team will do. So for us in that one, we're a little bit reactionary to see what does the team generally do in that space, and then we try to game plan, accordingly.
Michael Gelkin, Dallas Morning News. I'm curious your general thoughts on the mesh concept that the Eagles ran. There was the same play twice with the flat.
Yep.
What were your general thoughts about just how that developed?
Yep, and I would say give them credit. A lot of times they've done it with a tight end and a receiver to the same side as the back, and usually that's the three-way option play, Michael. So it could be, as I'm giving a zone read, I could hand it. I could see, a defensive end playing it, I could keep it. Or as I'm coming out, now I got the third element where I can throw off of it. And so that's the part that coaches can sometimes get agitated with, because they see linemen down the field, and that's not allowed. So they did a nice job of bringing a wide receiver across to become part of that option as the third element to throw it. So the change-ups that you try to make into there, okay, you can play zone on those plays, or play a different defense or a different one, a different style to go. And those are the ones for my own self to look at to say, okay, what would I do different when we get a chance to play them, in the next game? And so yesterday I did not know when we were playing them next, but I heard 12-24 coming up for some of the players, and so I said, okay, that's cool. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. And then I asked somebody, when we're playing them again. I said, all right, damn right, fill in the words. All right, I'm about that day too. So
There was a sudden change situation between that 4th and 3 when they ran it, and then when they ran on the following drive. Did that disrupt the opportunity maybe to make some adjustments with players just because it was so bang?
No, I think because I do get I can change the call to go to a different one. If you repeat the same call on when they're doing one, that would happen. But I do have the chance to not maybe put a player into the same spot if it's a one to go. And so I think if it was early on, I think we had played some man-to-man. And so after those happened, those were some of the changes that take place. But sometimes one time doesn't make it a tendency for the game yet until they do it a few times. They say, okay, let's change this up. Sometimes you call a good play against the right defense and you say, all right, that's one way to go. And if it's a repeating one, then you say, okay, let's adjust to this. And that's kind of the fun part about coaching, honestly, to say, okay, we might have prepared for one thing and now they're doing something different, and how quickly we can access that. And so when I was referring to earlier, that's why people say, well, good job in the second half, and why we were pissed to say, like, we want that standard to hold on and be, those high standards that we want consistently for us, first quarter through the whole way through. And I think we can reach them. I really do, with the group we have, with the mindset we have. So that's why today, there's a sour taste based on that. But in some ways, that's a good thing, because you're not looking for a pat on the back for something that's halfway done. We want it all the way through, all the time. And if we're going to be the kick-ass crew that I know we can be, we'll follow through on that.
Were your meetings today more emotional, or were you kind of measured when you had to address your team?
I would say I'm usually more measured, and what do we learn from it, what happened, and then go into the next one. So what did we learn from this, and then what will we take into the next one? Because some of the ones from this game will apply to next week in Detroit, and others will only apply until we play them again. And you keep those, notes in your logs about what you want to do and how you want to go, and then you open that back up as we get into that preparation. But so it's twofold. But generally, you want to make sure what were the lessons learned and how do we apply it moving forward.
Looks like you were more irritated today talking to us, and obviously you're winning games, so I think you're happy.
Well, my glass isn't always half full. I mean, 99.9% of the time it is, but I get pissed just like everybody else. And so I just, I know what we're capable of. And so when we don't quite nail it, and that goes to me too, to say, I wish I had that called differently, and I wish I could, put them in a better spot to do one. So I've got a lot of faith in who we are as a defense. And so that's why I guess I was, pissed today to say, I really believe if they knew how much I believe in them, they'd be shocked because of how strongly I think they can become. So when we don't hit it quite right, it bothers me.
Tim, what are your thoughts on Micah's game, and did they put him in conflict more than some other teams with their run game and maybe make him hesitate at all, or even in having him cover more because when he was off the ball?
Right, that's a good question. I would say I don't think so, Todd, only because of the it wasn't a drop back passing game, so we didn't get into some of the rushes and the pressures like we normally would based on their style. And so I wouldn't say it was specific to Micah as it was just specific to how they play, and so I don't think there's wasn't anything directed towards him or towards, we could have easily played him at DN. I think the same plays would have happened. We played him more at linebacker in this game just because I did feel like they were going to be running the ball more, but I don't think it was specific to him as much as it was to the defense.
You run a lot of big nickel. When you have 4 safeties though on the field at the same time, what is that what is that personnel group called?
Hippo. So we go all the animal terms. We got buffalo for big nickels and hippos when we bring in extra safeties, and it just kind of depends on the package that we need. I think on that particular one they might have had 3 tight ends, and so at times we'll use that package. We've done it a few times before. I think the last time might have been 2 weeks ago that we had it up for a game. And so it just depends how we want to feature the guys and who are some of the matchups that you do. But that one's been up for us for a while.
No lion package?
We have that too. Yep. Yeah.
What's the lion package?
Could be lion nickel, lion dino.
Mike?
You are right on the right track. Yeah.
Anybody else? All right.
All right, you guys have a good one. We'll see you next week. Okay, so long.
Go Cowboys!
Dallas Morning News. If you are able to go back to Dak this week, could you talk a little bit just about what Cooper Rush has done over these last 5 weeks and what it meant to this team as far as going forward?
Yeah, Coop's been a phenomenal example of so many guys of just taking advantage of an opportunity, and you know, you always use the metaphor next man up in football and in sports, and he's certainly a really good example of a guy who you know, over the last few weeks and however long it takes to you know, be put in a situation and take advantage of it. And you know, obviously everyone's frustrated and disappointed at the ending of this last game. Not the way we anticipated and wanted it to go, but wider spectrum, he's done a really nice job for us.
You've been in that position before, not getting a stretch that prolonged as he has, just the difficulty in doing that for 5 weeks versus coming in for a game or two, knowing that it's going to extend more, and how he held up to that.
Consistency is really the biggest thing in sports, and so for him to have done that for a number of weeks now, I think, you know, really helped our team, put us in a good position. And you know, frustrating game last week, and we'll see how the next couple weeks progress.
How big has, I'm sorry, Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News, how are you? How big has Zeke been in doing this stretch when you had Coop as your starter?
Yep, Zeke's done a really nice job. Him and Tony kind of doing it together. Those guys are big parts of this. We love getting those guys touches, and certainly the run game has been a real positive thing for us the last few weeks.
Kellen Toddarts with ESPN. If Dak returns, what changes about your offense?
We'll just have to take it week by week, really. And you know, certainly I think we were fortunate to be in a situation with Coop where, you know, the volume and the adjustments that go into a game plan, we're able to continue to carry those because of Coop. And so we're fortunate to have 2 veteran guys in that room that can handle those things. So certainly we'll be able to continue that whenever the time comes for Dak. And certainly Dak, you know, we know the talent that he is, and you know, the ability that he has, and certainly we'll be able to you know, take advantage of some of those things.
How difficult do you think it will be to hold Dak back if it's in his mind that this is his plan to play this week?
Dak's as motivated a person as we're ever going to meet in life, and you know, we'll just have to go through this thing, you know, the right way, and we'll see where it takes us day by day.
Clarence, before we start talking around, how has Dak looked? I mean, obviously through Saturday and Sunday, I don't know what he'd be throwing in today, and how has looked? What do you need to see from him to say he's ready to go?
No, he's done a really nice job, and I think the 2 aspects of it is, first, medical, obviously the most important, and the second is just simply practice. You know, you got to practice, you got to go through those routines, you got to find the timing, the rhythm, the consistency. But everything he's done up to this point has been awesome, and it's been a really cool testament to see, you know, how much hard work's gone into this process for him.
So he's making all the throws. From what you've seen, obviously he's making all the throws and zips on the ball, and
he seems good. You know, every day there's going to be, you know, new things added, and we'll just kind of see where it goes.
Michael Gelke, Dallas Morning News. On the 4th down play in the second quarter, you had your 2 wide receivers have a spatial issue.
Yeah.
They're just execution-wise, what transpired there, and why did it fall short?
Yeah. Obviously, unfortunate situation. We anticipated a first down there, ended up in a 4th and short. Yeah, I can easily second guess it a lot, and I certainly do. But we're trying to create a little bit of a movement play where trying to sneak CD around the backside, and you know, we got penetration on the edge, and so we weren't able to get CD all the way through there on the movement. And so you know, tough one, frustrating one. Certainly one that you can sit there and want to have back and call something different, but you know, it was a tough one.
anybody?
What were your thoughts on your line's play? Obviously, you ran the ball quite well against them, and what do you think of the pass protection?
Yeah, we ran the ball really well. We got to be a little cleaner on 1st and 2nd down. I think that's one thing. Just normal, you know, 1st and 10, be a little bit more efficient there. But you know, those guys battled. They did a really good job. Pass game, you know, we held our own. There's a few, you know, opportunities we certainly would want back. That we had chances, and so those are always going to be difficult things. The challenges of those guys that's a premier front, and you know, they're going to make some plays, unfortunately, at times, and you know, they made some critical mistakes on our side because of it.
How much more settled are you guys offensively from the last time you saw Dak play in the opener? Like, Gallup's back, Tyler Smith's played a bunch now, your running game's going, your tight ends are involved.
Certainly, as everyone knows, early in an NFL season, that September football, there's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of adjustments that are made. And so for the O-line to create a little bit of stability, Michael's back, a couple young tight ends playing a bunch of ball. So certainly we feel like, we're progressing the right way. Unfortunate, game this past weekend, but hopefully we're continuing to grow and take the positive steps needed.
What do you feel Dak's return can do for your third down offense, whether it be setting yourself up in a better position on first and second down, or when it comes to those third down situations?
Yeah, there's a combination of both. I think obviously first and second down has a huge impact on third down, just being in manageable situations, and then certainly in third downs, we just got to execute and find our way to execute, especially those 3rd and 4, 5, 6. Those are the kind of the tougher fringe ones, and we got to find a way to improve our odds there and play better football. And so. Something at times we've done really well, and at times, certainly recently, we haven't done as well. And so there'll be a scheme thing that we got to continue to evaluate, and then an execution aspect as well.
You've had a much younger offensive team than you were certainly last year, and with Dak being out and all this youth, in what ways have you seen this offense grow, and what is the most impressive about that, especially when you didn't have your starting quarterback in there? What areas?
I think certainly the run game is a big aspect of that. We anticipate wanting to go down that road in the offseason, continue to push it, and certainly, I think the last few weeks have been evident that, we can continue to lean on that. And so those guys have done a really nice job, the younger offensive linemen working together. So much communication goes into that front, being able to handle all the adjustments that you have to make based off a defensive look, and a couple of young tight ends that are continuing to build, and Jake and Peyton. And so with those guys and Dalton, like you got 3 really good ones right there. And Sean pops in there every once in a while to help us. And so, we feel really good about being able to play with multiple tight ends as the season progresses.
Mike mentioned today about when a player comes back physically, there's still an element of timing, of getting his timing and rhythm back. Mike Gallup missed a lot of time, of course. Where is he in that process? It's just timing.
Yeah, certainly. I think that's an aspect that everyone's trying to grow through anytime you come back from an injury, because there's a game speed and there's a practice speed, and you're going through that whole transition phase and the physicality. Michael, just all the things that go into a game, and he's certainly made some really good moments, and he's going to continue to grow. And I think that's the exciting thing for us, is that Michael, Dak, all these guys have kind of been were out for a little bit. They're going to continue to grow and get better and better each week.
McCarthy seemed to indicate McGovern took the next step in his development. What have you seen from him so far this year?
Just consistency. I think just, especially, the communication over there with him and Tyler, those two, as many times as they can be on the field together, practice together, all the adjustments, the calls, being on the same page, because, that's what football is up front. It's dealing with games and adjustments. You don't just block one guy on your own and just you got you and you got you. And so those guys got to work really well together. And so I think once he came back, I think it's been a good couple weeks for those guys working together, and hopefully continues to trend the right way.
As much as you want to ramp up Jason there, is there something you said with just, we got to allow Connor as well to get more comfortable, to get into more of a rhythm? It seemed like there was a bit of a shift there with Jason only seeing those 4 snaps. Is that the direction that you guys are going at left guard?
I think there's a balancing act. I think Jason's a guy that we want to continue. This is a long season. We're going to need Jason, and so you want to keep him involved, and he has the ability to play that left guard and left tackle spot, and so we want to keep him a part of this, because at some point he's going to have to play significant snaps at various times. That's just what odds tell you in football. But you also want Connor to have as many reps as he can, because him and Tyler are younger players that every rep counts for those guys.
All righty.
All right. Thank you.
Go Cowboys!
Desperate News. It seems like most weeks there are almost plays for Kevontae Turpin, maybe even more so this past Sunday night. Which one stood out most to you as like those ones that where the margin was really narrow?
Yeah, gosh, the opening one was a big one. We thought we had something there, and he stumbled. I just think opening kickoff of the game, he might not have had his legs ready yet, but we thought we had a good one on the opener. That was the And then later in the game, we had the big one, and there was just a lot of cut back, and he kind of ran into our own guy, but that was a good one. And the punt return, too, where we had the holding it got called back, but we saw something on the picture, the one before, and we just tried to run like a different kind of return that set that up in the middle. So a lot of almost, and we just, didn't quite capitalize on a couple opportunities.
That said, the late first half 63-yarder, do you feel like that's something that your unit takes pride in, is at a time when there was a lot of sputtering, for the entire team,
Yeah.
to be able to get a jolt and get on the scoreboard because of it?
Yep. Yeah, we talked about that in the kickoff return huddle, the punt huddle. We were down by 10 and then 17. Well, we got to get a spark going in the return game, or if we punt it, we got to go attack the football and try to get the ball loose. So when that game was going, we kind of do that every game, but when you get into those moments, like, hey guys, we got to make something happen here. Back up a couple of yards on kick return, and let's see if we can kind of, get a big play or some better field position for our guys to get started. So that was definitely part of the discussions in the huddle, really, especially in the first half.
Watkins, Dallas Morning News. Along those lines, you were okay with Turpin. I think he fielded a punt at the 5, and normally I think you would say let that go.
Yeah.
So is that part of the reason why he was like, we got to get something here?
Yeah, great observation. I think if they're punting from inside the 50, you don't want to back up inside the 8 we put it. But I think the line of scrimmage was out by the 40-yard line. So he backed up to the 5 knowing that he was going to have a return opportunity. So, yes, that was, I think, a great decision he made. Back it up to the 5 knowing that I got probably at least 10 yards that I can go get and then see if I can earn some more to get us at least past the 20, which would have been the touchback line. So, yeah, we I wouldn't say play it more aggressively because I think we'd do that in any situation, but some more chances were taken.
Christy Scales, Cowboys Radio. Calvin Joseph had a couple of penalties yesterday, so a couple of negatives there. But overall, can you speak to the importance when you have he and CJ both drawing doubles?
Yeah, I mean, they draw a lot of attention for sure. And, the 2 penalties in the return game, one was a kickoff return where we double-teamed the guy and, we knocked him down and he got back up. Kelvin knocked him down again. And then when he was on the ground, he went in to keep him down and knock him down. There was nothing malicious or anything that was unsportsmanlike conduct. The referee told Kelvin he just had to let him up before he knocked him back down again. So it was really an outstanding block, So I just got to check with maybe the officiating on, we weren't pinning him down. We were just, every time he tried to stand back up, we just knocked him back down. And it looked like it was our hands and nothing to the head. So, and then the holding penalty, it's a really hard job that CJ and Kelvin do blocking the gunner singled up. He blocked him really good. I mean, and the guy kind of started to, I think their guy kind of started to die on the play and kind of started to spin and throws his hands up. And there's some acting that goes along with that where sometimes it influences the referees. And I'm not going to say it's a good or bad call, but I thought he did an outstanding job blocking the guy. It's a really hard job. I didn't see any jersey restrictions. There was a little bit of turning, and then he just shoved him away at the end. It was too bad because it was a big punt return. It got us out to about the 40-yard line. So, I talked to Kelvin after the game. I saw him this morning. I talked to him. I just said, your play style and your intentional mindset of just playing hard is great, man. There was nothing you did that was sloppy or reckless. Just kind of part of the game, and they got you twice. And I don't think there was anything that was malicious by you or lack of technique. So it's too bad because it cost us some field position, but I love his brain and his play style.
Maya Taylor, Dallas
Hi, Maya.
Morning News. What makes Noah Brown a good personal protector?
That's a great question. Noah Brown is sometimes a hard one to describe because there's a lot of great intangibles with him. He's tough. So he can step up in there like a running back would in protection, and tackle big bodies coming in there in protection. He's very smart, so he can look at formations by punt return and know which way to send the snapper. So he's in charge of not only the timing of our punt and delivering the cadence to snap it, but telling the center which way he's got to go in protection, and then having the vision to play different looks and pick up his body that, there's a lot of crazy punt rush looks that he has to pick up, and he's just a very trustworthy guy, and he has really good hands.
Brett, against the Giants, the 59-yarder that he missed, it was the line wasn't quite right with the wind in that stadium.
Yeah.
How about this most recent 59-yarder? What kind of was not just quite right there?
Yeah, gosh, we looked at it this morning, and there wasn't really anything. If we looked at it, even the TV copy, and it started right about right post, and usually Brett's ball, draws just a little bit back right to left, and it was going right at the right post, and it just leaked a little bit away from the post, which is not usually his ball turn. And he hit a great ball. I mean, it was a 59-yarder, and it probably would have been good from 65. So it wasn't wind. I think it was kind of an unexplainable hit. He hit it great. The sound was good. The operation was good. And usually that ball just kind of draws in, and for some reason it kind of just drew out. And we weren't able to come up with a good answer why.
We're 6 weeks into the season, and those 59-yarders are the only ones he's missed.
Yep.
And his touchbacks have been consistent, kicking off. What have you made of what you guys have been able to get from someone who really wasn't part of your training camp?
Yeah, that's a great question, Michael, man. I mean, our hopes were that he would be what he is right now, but it was for sure an unknown just for me, just because, like I said, we had him last fall for tryout, then we had him in a four-man kind of gong show in training camp, and he was a winner of it, and just really proud of him. Really, Brian Anger's been a great holder for him. Jake was outstanding, kind of getting the operation going. Matt's kind of taken over. And I think he's got a lot of confidence in Brian as a holder for sure. And then his weekly routine kind of matches Brian's. And I think they kind of morphed it together where they kind of learned from each other. And so I can't speak to Brett's previous routine like on game week, but it just seems like he's really locked in and knows exactly what he needs to do on Thursday and exactly what he needs to do on Friday. And he comes out with index cards on Thursdays and says, here's my 16 hits. It's 24L, 27R, 16R, 37M. And so we just spot it all around. And we got a good routine going. And he's healthy, and I really hope he keeps it going. I'm sure he will.
How leery of you of the Lions? They're struggling a little bit. Yeah, the kick return had a 47-yarder thing in the ball game against the Patriots. How leery of you, like, hey, they're desperate here. Let's make sure that we're on point so they don't get a big score against us.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been looking at them all morning and all night too. It's kind of all bled together. Got in about 4:30 this morning and went right to the computer, started watching some tape. So, Coach Phip does a great job out there. They got some really good linebackers. They got a real nice punt returner. They've thrown quite a few fakes over the last couple of years. And again, desperation moments and sometimes just, hey, we got one here moments. So they got some really good football players over there. And I wouldn't say we're leery of it, but I think we'll definitely be aware of how the game's going, whether we're ahead, whether we're a little bit behind, whether there's desperation or different looks involved. That they do a good job capitalizing, like against the Rams last year. They activated a fake because I think the Rams were missing a body, and so they activated it and ran a sweep and got a first down. So being on point with substitutions and holding the edges and keeping an eye on the gunners is all a huge part of what we got to do to make sure we win the game.
One more follow-up on gunners and CJ and Kelvin each drawing double teams. Have you had it in your career where you have had two guys that draw doubles?
One year in Oakland, we had two really good gunners, Hiram Eugene and Tyvon Branch, and they drew a lot of attention when Leckler was the punter. But this is a good tandem. It's been probably, I've always respected and loved all the guys who have gunned for our punt teams, but these two guys are special. Kelvin and CJ are special. And if something ever happened to them, Deron Bland can gun. Nashawn Wright, who's been inactive, can gun. So we have a good stable of very able bodies should anything ever need to be replaced, which hopefully it doesn't.
You mentioned Maher's routine. Anything unique about it, or which part of it are really distinct based on the past kickers you've been around? Like, what did he bring to the table? Something that he likes to do that you thought, okay, let's do it, and that you've kind of seen work in a new way that's a bit different for you.
Yeah, he's very efficient. So on Thursdays, he loves to do some situational field goals where we kind of move it around. I'll say, hey, it's we're down by 9 and there's 2 minutes left in the game, and we got to have it, or there's 4 seconds left in the game and we got to have it, or whatever it might be. So it's situational kicking, and it's very brief. It's not an hour-long workout where it's just kind of you're just slogging through it. It's very brief and very efficient. And then on Friday, it's more of just a much shorter routine and kind of just getting the legs swinging for Sunday. So Thursday's more situational, Friday's briefer and more just like kind of base stuff. Don't do a lot of kicking off just to preserve the leg throughout the season. But there's just a really cool plan by him, and I haven't brought too much to it, to be honest with you. It's been, what do you need? What has worked for you that you feel good about? And let's just do that with, Brian and Matt. And so hopefully it'll keep working. He's been doing pretty damn good.
John, Babe Loffenberg, Cowboys Radio. If you have 3 kickoff returns and 2 are going to, ahead of time, 2 are going to get you out to the 15, but one's going to break to your own 45. So basically, it's a wash.
Yep.
Would you prefer 3 starts at the 25 with a a touchback?
Yep.
How does that factor into?
That's a great question. You 100% you want the ball in play. So if you said, okay, there's going to be 3 kick returns, they can all be touchbacks, so you get the ball at the 25, or you get 2 that get you to the 17, 15, but 1 gets you to the plus 40, which equals the 25. Yeah, we have ball in play. We're playing for sure. I think it's like.
So you'll give up that, let's say, starting at 17, 18.
Yeah.
Typically, we're with the hope that you're going to be starting at your own 45.
Yeah. I would. I don't know if you ask anybody. It's the old question. I've always thought of this on. Let's say you got a great punt returner. Would you take no fumbles and no touchdowns, or 2 fumbles throughout the season and 2 touchdowns? The risk-reward type thing.
How do you answer it?
I'm taking the ball in play. I'm taking the touchdowns. But it's a great question, and I don't think there's a good answer, but it's fun to discuss. It's a great question.
With the way that kicking opportunities can come during a game where, your first kick could be a 50-yarder, your first kick could be a 55-yarder, does that make the situational work that Brett does important, to have it so that it's not just throughout the course of a week, start at 24, 29, 34, and just going back, but he can kind of just sprinkle opportunities around the field? I
think that's part of it, Michael, is the challenge on a Thursday is to come up with, and it's a new set of index cards every week, just based off things that he wants to work on, the distance, the hash. And then usually I'll just kind of come up with the situation to kind of put it to life. Just to break a little monotony too. Just something a little different every situational Thursday, which is kind of fun to go in there. And we do the same thing with Brian. Brian's is more base Wednesday, situational Thursday. So it's different days because they just like to be kicking on different days, but kind of the same mindset. So it's a lot of fun. Coaching is a lot of fun. The work week is a lot of fun. Game days are a lot of fun. Maybe not as much when you lose and you get home at 4:30 in the morning. But football conversations are awesome. I think it's your guys' job to ask questions and critique, and it's my job to try to answer them as best I can. But it's all good football. I think I love talking football.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
Great note to end on.